So to start our shirt, we want to make sure we make a pattern. You're just going to need some building paper and a Sharpie. And then here you can see me tracing an old dress I had to make the pattern of our sleeve and bodice. You will also need to make a pattern for the collar. Step 2, cutting your fabric. For this project, you need 1 yard of a spandex fabric and some elastic. And here you can just see me pinning. Make sure you cut 2 bodice pieces, 1 collar piece, 1 sleeve, and 1 strip of fabric to encase our elastic at the base of our shirt. And step 3, sewing. What you want to start by doing is pinning your 2 bodice pieces at the shoulders and sides and sewing over them with a zigzag stitch. Because we're using a spandex fabric, we want to make sure we're using a zigzag stitch. That way, none of the fabric loses its stretch in the process of sewing. Once our 2 bodice pieces are sewn together, you want to pick the left armhole and perform something known as a rolled hem. This will get rid of all raw edges since this side will not contain a sleeve. Speaking of sleeves, our next step is going to be pinning and sewing our sleeve and making sure our inseam is sewn correctly and that it's tight to our arms. You want to start by just sewing it in half and then rolled hemming the bottom edge where your wrist will be. From there, just make sure we're trimming all of our threads. What you see me doing next here is sewing our sleeve in, so we want to make sure we turn our sleeve right side out and then inlay it into our armhole, the shoulder part of your sleeve lining up directly with your shoulder seam. After sewing our sleeve, we want to put our bodice aside, and from there we want to take a long strip of fabric, the exact size of our waist, and pin it into a long tube, sewing along the edge and turning it right side out. Once our fabric lining is right side out, we want to take a strip of elastic a 1/2 inch shorter than our waist and thread it through. From there, you want to make sure you sew the elastic into a circular channel with a zigzag stitch. After we're done sewing our elastic, we want to pin our elastic channel and sew it onto our shirt. So along the waistline, you want to pin and sew it much the same way you pinned and sewed the sleeve, inlining it inside the shirt and then sewing it right sides together. After we have our waistline sewn, we want to sew in our collar, which I did mostly off screen because I wasn't really sure how I was going to, but in the end I ended up folding our 1 collar piece like a waistband, meaning the 2 raw edges met in the middle, folding it in half again, and then inlaying it the same way we inlaid our sleeve. And then we're done. Please enjoy some very subpar photos of me in our homemade shirt.